I'm happy for the wins. First time have won here. It's a very, very difficult place to play. You know, crowds right there on you, and you know, when the crowd has energy, it's a loud spot. Even with the circumstances of today and all of it, it was loud. You know, partly our doing. I mean, we assisted in all that, but it's a tough place to play. I'm happy to get a win. Negatives for sure, but the positives are the finish and the care factor, and guys fighting through. You know, we got a bunch of young guys that are playing. I think our depth is being tested in a bunch of positions, whether, you know, O-line, linebacker, tight end. You know, probably the one spot that it's not is receiver, where, you know, we got more than enough depth. But I think in other spots it's being tested, and we got young guys that are learning on the run. You know, and you take all that learning if the lessons are applied. And I thought we were able to see some of that today, which was good. Take any questions you guys got.
You know, defensively, where, you know, has the preparation for every game this season been similar, or you know, because it seems like there's a lot of the same things that are happening on defense. Has the preparation leading up to those games changed at all this season?
We see generally new things, and so, you know, last week with Arizona State, I watched some of the game last night with Arizona State, and there was still yet another thing. And so that's, I think, partly their MO, is that they're a game plan specific unit. But prior to our game, everything was kind of pretty tightly contained. If you had a grenade, like all 22 were going down. And with our game, it was completely spread out. And so we had to make adjustments during that time. And I thought we were able to. You know, this one was a little bit different, just with all of the gadget plays and trick plays. I think on that first drive alone, there was 2 double passes or whatever there was, and so had an idea that was coming, and we rep it. But, you know, we look at the TCU film, and hey, this is how it looked, and this is what we, you know, this is how we're going to rep it. And of course, it's not going to look that way, and so you know, we're going to have to get better at those things. But I think when all the kitchen sink is being thrown at you, to be able to keep playing and to kind of take all of the incoming from coaches and teammates, and then kind of settle down and then play your best ball, still yet to come. I think that says a lot. And we had a bunch of guys that went through that transformation. It was good to see them do that.
Were there any halftime changes? It just seemed like y'all put a lot more pressure on them in the second half.
Yeah, well, you have, you know, when it's in that, you know, in that first half, there's kind of here's kind of how their attack has been. And, you know, I think prior, when Coach Gundy was here, I want to say, and just my belief just off the film, it looked like, hey, man, let's keep it simple. Let's let them play fast. And there's probably more than any other team, this play would show up 5-6 times in a game. And generally, you don't see that. You see it maybe 2 or 3 times, where you watch Oklahoma State film, they would show up 7, 6, 8 times, something like that. And so they were probably the most conservative, kind of, you know, tightly contained thing. And so, you know, much like a presidential election, when there's a change, you figure it's going to completely go the opposite. And that was kind of the talk when there was a change, and for sure that's what we got. And so, you know, from there it's like, hey, so when, you know, there's stuff coming at you and you're not really sure what form or thing it's going to take, do you play base and try to have eyes on it, or do you try to pressure it and hope you catch it kind of passing in the night? And so a lot of base in the first half, a lot of pressure in the second half.
Coach, do you have any updates, speaking of depth, on Omar and Bryson?
Not yet, no.
What were y'all able to do on the offensive line? Just, I mean, it's kind of piecemeal, I guess, but like when Omar went down, what were y'all able to do?
Yeah, I thought they were able to move people. I thought there's times where you saw the line of scrimmage push, and running backs kind of churn and get, you know, 2-3 yards. You know, that's the identity. Baylor football is that right there. And so that was really cool to see. I think we saw glimpses of that last week, and we saw much more of that this week. And so we want to be able to build off of that. You know, for all of the hits that you take, and let's call them lessons that you learned. A lot of positive things. That's one of them, and we want to be able to highlight that and get even more of that.
How have some of the young guys on defense stepped up? Especially, I think it was Cameron today, Cameron Morgan, or sorry, Caleb Burns.
Yeah.
How has Caleb Burns stepped up into maybe a larger role than expected?
Yeah. He's playing a lot right now with Travion and Phoenix both out, and so Caleb is very talented. He's very smart. He has a mind for football, and so stuff will kind of come. Football comes easy to him, and so it's a language that he kind of, his appetite is strong. He eats it up. So how that looks is it's a base play, and he shoots his gun and he gets a tackle for loss. We've had a bunch of other guys playing that spot, and we haven't gotten that. And Caleb goes in and is able to get that. And he brings us a great playmaking ability, and then he gives us great care factor too. I mean, he's very at halftime. There's kind of colorful language and motivation and all these things, and he was the most affected probably by all of it, and the most emotional. And so I sure appreciate that about him. I think he motivated other guys.
Dave, you were talking about being able to run the ball and
Yeah.
not with just Bryson. The way that Caden stepped up, the way that Michael Turner stepped up, how good was that to see?
It's identity. That's the identity right there. I think when you have that, there's a drive where I think we took almost the entire quarter, and so that's when we're at our best. It's that way right there, and so I think we need to build off of that. We need, regardless of the circumstance, or the box count, or the coverage, or the front, or any of that, when it's kind of a statement of will and an attitude, and guys are getting pushed forward and all of that, that's Baylor football.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Dave, I'm curious about punt returns. In the past, I've always thought that someone would not fair catch inside the 10.
Mhm.
It seems like we in other football games, there's more fair catches between the 5 and the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
Has that changed over time?
I think
Is that-
so. Yeah, I think teams are getting better and better and better about pinning people down, and so it just becomes kind of it's a pick your poison type of thing. And I think we've been able to have the other thing about that too is depending on where the ball is kicked from, the longer that the ball is in the air, the greater there is a potential to take it out. So a lot of those we want to be able to take out, and so we've got to be able to get that to where we're comfortable enough to do that and execute. A lot of our big returns last year, that was the case.
Coach, obviously you prepare how you normally prepare,
Yeah.
but did the news coming out of Stillwater this week affect y'all's preparation in
Yeah.
any way?
Yeah. I mean, we tried to practice some of the stuff that we saw, and I imagine it don't look like it, but we tried to practice that, knowing that was coming. We looked at a lot of, quarterback running plays. Wildcat was something we repped, and we saw that too. That was not really something, I think they repped it one time this year. We saw it much more than that today. There was very much the feeling that, hey, everything was kind of self-contained, everything was kind of keep it simple, and it was all going to blow up. And so we tried our best to rep those things.
Dave, is the tight end becoming an identity of this
Yeah.
offense as well?
Yeah, it's a mismatch, man. When you got the talent that's on the outside, you have to put a safety over top of him. You can't single him. If anything, it'll be a PI, which there's multiples of those. And so you've got to put a guy over top of him. And so it's just a matter of math. And once you do that, you're only playing with 11. There's a mismatch now in the middle. And so it's good to be able to play that game and some critical plays that he made.
Because he came up with a big one there
Yes.
on that last drive,
Yes.
last scoring drive.
Yes, yeah. I think the guys that made plays in that type of drive, whether it was O-line blocking, whether it was running back or Sawyer, are guys that love football. And so we've got a good amount of guys that love ball, and it showed in that drive.
Sort of bounce back game for Josh. What did you see from him out on the field and maybe even before the game?
Yeah, he spoke to the team. It was really emotional. Josh is someone that usually kind of keeps things composed and tries to be able to find the right words and kind of say it in probably an eloquent kind of maybe nice way, and I think he was pretty raw and emotional, and I'm thankful for that. I think it was good for guys to hear that. His care factor is out of this world, and for the rest of the guys to kind of see, or hear rather, what they see every day, I think puts it in a different perspective. But yeah, this was a personal game for him. I think the last game really stung, and so I think this was a game where he was going to show out regardless of who we're playing.
How great was it to see Sawyer kind of use his legs, especially down in the red zone?
Yeah, there's opportunities in the past. We talk about all the skill that we got, and his eyes are always down the field and, on the sidelines. Spav is yelling for Sawyer to run. I'm yelling for Sawyer to run, so it's good to see that. I think the eyes looking down the field and the throws that can happen. There was some of those today, even when he's moving around. I forget who was it. Was it Cole or Ashton that was on near our sideline when he's moving around? But there's opportunity to just take off. I think we saw a lot of two-man today, and so when they're rushing four guys and they're playing man under with coverage, and there's two high safeties on top, there's no one really for Sawyer, and so his ability to run is greatly maximizes our ability to score. So that was good to see.
I'm sure you have to watch the tape to get more detail, but on defense, what's one thing that you're proud of taking steps today, and is there something that stands out that absolutely needs improvement?
Yeah, I think eye control would be the thing. That was all those double passes and kind of fake reverses and kind of gadget plays. They test your eyes, and so they try to give you candy somewhere else to pull you, and then do something where your eyes should be. And so, that's something that we have to improve on. We put that on tape, and so we're inviting other teams to do that. But then I'm proud of our ability to respond. And we really went from a 4-down group to a 3-down group in the second half, and kind of just changed the structure of the defense. And guys were making plays in that structure, and both run and pass. And so it was good to see. I think that's something to build off of.
Thank you all. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thank you guys.